she's so fine. Hell of a blows my mind. Hell of a lights my day.
What's good, guys? This story is coming out of Washington, D.C. It came on July the 17th of 2021. It's a little bit late, but because I have a subscriber who's near and dear to me, Michelle, this video is for you. I wanted to cover this because this is her family that we are speaking about. This is her niece. D.C. police identify 6-year-old killed by gun violence. Release video of suspect vehicle. A young girl is dead and 5 adults were sent to hospitals after a shooting in Southeast D.C. Friday night. The incident happened just after 11 p.m. at the intersection of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X Avenues in Congress Heights. D.C. Police Executive Assistant Chief Vashon Benedict said officers in the area heard gunfire, and as they arrived at the scene, a group of people directed them to those who were shot. In total, 6 people were shot, including 6-year-old Nyiah, more affectionately known as Nyiah Courtney, who was taken to a hospital where she would be pronounced dead. 3 men and 2 women, including her mother, were also taken to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. No arrests have been made. Police said in a tweet that they are looking for a dark in color vehicle. Any shooting that takes place in the city is unacceptable, Benedict said. We're responding to too many calls of children being affected by gunfire, so please help us bring these shooters to justice.
New details tonight on another high-profile shooting in D.C. 6-year-old Nyiah Courtney was gunned down this weekend. News 4's Darcy Spencer just spoke to her loved ones, and she joins us now live from Northwest Washington. Darcy?
Well, Drew, that's right. I just spoke to little Nyiah's grandmother, and you can imagine she is going through so much right now. Not only the loss of her beautiful little granddaughter, her own daughter was wounded in this shooting. She tells me she just hopes and prays that this gunman will surrender to police and give this family some peace that they really need right now. Nyiah Courtney shared with me that little Nyiah's mom does not yet know that her daughter died in that Friday night shooting in Southeast Washington. At this point, they are not breaking that news to her. She says that the family was actually outside on MLK waiting for a bus to go home. That's when that drive-by happened, just after 11 o'clock. Her daughter called the grandmother there from the scene, and the grandmother tells me that she could hear police talking to little Nyiah, telling her to stay with them, and the police actually drove Nyiah to the hospital in their car. The grandmother said that she's so thankful to police for what they did and everything they did to try to save her life. She does believe that this $60,000 reward being offered for information will help lead police to that car and to that gunman. Here's a little bit of what she had to say a short time ago.
She didn't deserve that. No one deserved that, especially a child. Even though I try to stay strong, I know I'm going to have my moments. She is going to be missed by everyone that knew her, especially her family.
And that's right. They say you can just imagine what this little girl was like. She enjoyed dancing. She wanted to join the dance team. She was looking Looking forward to starting first grade in the fall. She said she was ready to go to school and be with the big kids. And of course, that's not going to happen now. Drew, back to you.
Yeah, Darcy, so sad. Our hearts go out to that family. Darcy, thank you very much. And stay with News 4 and our NBC Washington app. We have continuing coverage of Nyiah Courtney's death. Police are still searching for her killer, and we will bring you any major developments in the case just as soon as they come in.
D.C. Police Chief Robert Conte, flanked by D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser at a Saturday afternoon conference, asked for the public's help to identify a silver sedan used in a Friday night drive-by shooting that left 6-year-old Nyiah Courtney dead. Chief Conte also said a reward no less than $60,000 is being offered to anyone who can provide information leading to an arrest in the crime that killed her and wounded 5 others. Together, we will do whatever it takes to close this case in a swift and professional manner, Chief Conte said. Conte said Nyiah would have been starting the first grade this fall, and now that won't happen, he said. He urged the community to come together to curb the ongoing gun violence in the city.
News 4's Derek Ward continues our team coverage of this tragic shooting with reaction from neighbors and from those business owners in that area.
She was known by merchants on the block where she was shot.
And every time she comes in, and I gave her ice creams and give her a couple of dollars and gave her things. I just loved the girl.
He says she gave him a nickname, Curly. It was part of the pleasant rapport he enjoyed with the little girl, her younger sister, and their parents.
Sometimes I came sad here, from other places, and I see her, she say, "Hey, Curly," she comes and give me a hug, and I forget everything about it.
The loving little girl died amid a barrage of Friday night gunfire that injured 5 other adults. The bullet holes in storefronts, stark reminders of what happened, of what childhood here is too often like.
They can't come and it's like normal kids because they have to duck and watch for bullets.
There's usually at least one marked police cruiser here. The day after the shooting, there was a heavier police presence.
So it's not the lack of police presence,
nor the lack of programs or recreation centers, says Sharif Omar, another local merchant. It's about taking stock and pride in where you live. And he says trouble seems to take root. Well, it doesn't help.
If these businesses were owned by the people in the community, do you think things like that?
Chief Conte and Mayor Bowser urged city.
What happened out here? Absolutely not.
Others agree that challenge has to come from within the heart of a gunman, in the mind of a violent person, an admittedly tougher challenge.
Let's just be honest, we're not going to be able to end all violence, but what we can do is start to change the culture of how we go about resolving conflicts.
There's a lack of love. Love is such a foreign language.
Derek Ward, News 4.
The FBI and the ATF are partnering with D.C. police to help identify the shooter. The agencies also contributed towards the reward. During the news conference, officials acknowledged they did not yet know what the motive was for the shooting. Community members attending the news conference said they wanted more from the police.
I am heartbroken this afternoon, but I am here to provide the latest from a disturbing shooting that has taken a 6-year-old little girl from her family, the Congress Heights community, and our city. Allow me to start by offering my deepest condolences to her family and friends, but emphasize our determination in identifying the persons or person responsible for killing this young child. I know there are many good people in this community that won't stand for senseless acts of violence, and together we will do whatever it takes to close this case in a swift and professional manner. I am joined by a number of law enforcement partners this afternoon who are equally as committed to solving this case, but also invested in ensuring our city is safe for all. As you are likely aware, last night at approximately 11 p.m., 7th District officers overheard the sounds of multiple gunshots in the area of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X Avenue Southeast. We learned in the immediate aftermath that 6 individuals standing on the sidewalk in the 2900 block of Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue sustained gunshot wounds. 5 adult victims in total, 3 men and 2 women, were transported to area hospitals for non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Tragically, our 6th victim, who has been identified as 6-year-old Nyiah Courtney. I want everyone to look at this. Six years old of Southeast D.C. was struck by gunfire and did not survive her injuries. The first officers on the scene rushed Nyiah to the hospital in an MPD police cruiser, and she was pronounced dead shortly after her arrival by medical staff after all life-saving efforts were unsuccessful. It is my understanding that Nyiah was starting the first grade this fall, and now that won't happen. And frankly, that is unacceptable to me, and it should be for every resident of this city. We have a collective responsibility to ensure our children have every opportunity to be safe from violence. So I am asking that we all stand together and say, no more. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. The cowards who committed this crime came into this community without any regard for human life, without regard for Nyiah's life, and opened fire. And that cannot and will not be tolerated. Residents and neighbors do not deserve to be torn apart by senseless acts of violence. It is time for us to say enough is enough. Video footage of the shooting and an image of the vehicle of interest is being shared with community at this time and will be available through our social media platforms and subsequent press release. We ask that people take a moment to see if they recognize the car and provide tips or information to help bring closure for Nyiah. Please do not hesitate to call our Command Information Center at 202-727-9099 or text us anonymously at 50411. There's a total reward of up to $60,000 to anyone that provides information which leads to the arrest and conviction of the person or person responsible for Nyiah's murder. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Washington Field Division has partnered with MPD and offered an additional $25,000, and the FBI Washington Field Office has offered an additional $10,000. Again, the total reward is up to $60,000. MPD is extremely committed to ensuring that justice is brought to the surviving victims and to Nyiah. We will continue to work tirelessly to ensure this case is brought to closure. We know from past instances that the community can help us close cases by sharing information or simply reposting images, and we are hopeful you can do the same in this case. Justice for Nyiah.
Residents took to the streets in Southeast on Wednesday night in memory of 6-year-old Nyiah Courtney. People marching on MLK Avenue Wednesday told NBC Washington it should never have happened. It's very heartbreaking. No mother deserves to bury their child at a young age like that. Gun violence in the city has just gotten out of control, said another. Ward 8 council member Trayon White also took part in the march. We've all got to play our part, and so I support anything positive in this community because there are so many negative stereotypes, and we got to support anything that's positive, he said.
Yeah, Leslie, there are tons of balloons, signs. We even have some chalk art here now on the sidewalk. More of this was added today as hundreds walked up MLK to this spot. Now, this walk wasn't only for Nyiah. It was for all kids who've been killed in D.C.
Put the guns down! Pick the kids up!
A call for the community to take care of its own.
Don't just stand there! Don't just stand there!
Walking for the kids who can't, who lost their lives on D.C. streets. Most recently, it was 6-year-old Nyiah Courtney near the corner of Malcolm X and MLK Jr. Avenues.
An angel on earth. An angel on earth. I'm tired of crying. I can't eat, can't sleep.
Sickened by another child murdered, rapper J.G. Riff put out the message to march.
Just growing up in Southeast and seeing all these young babies dying, and it's just enough. Enough is enough.
The Courtney family's lawyer says Nyiah's mom, Dominique, was also shot and is now in the hospital stable, recovering from injuries. Nyiah's uncle, Deron Page, says he was there when Nyiah was shot.
Yeah, my niece died in my arms. That's all. Her mother seen her pass away in her face. She went out. It was just crazy. My brother, he lost. He ain't know what to do. Love you, man. Love you too. I ain't know what to do.
Page says he was walking up Malcolm X and his niece and family were heading to a bus stop on MLK when the shooter fired.
First thing I heard was my baby, my baby. I knew it was one of my nieces.
Step up and say, look, man, this gotta stop. We gonna move in a different direction.
This showing of support, giving family and friends some comfort, like her godmother, Kiki.
I look around and I see all the love because she gave out love at 6 years old. She loved everybody on this block.
Amid the love, a demand for change.
So you gotta be considerate. If you're inconsiderate, then you're gonna do stuff like that. 6-year-old children are going to die.
When I block you under attack, what we gonna do?
Now take a look at this picture for a moment. Remember it. We're gonna go this way. We were just told by a local convenience store owner down the street that they're starting a mural right here on this blue wall. It'll be that picture of Nyiah blown up. The artist is expected, we're told, to be finished by Saturday. Now, if you want to donate to Nyiah's family, the family's lawyer tells us they ask that you send money via Cash App to their grandma on the name that you see on your screen. Leslie.
Yeah, that's the kind of work that no one wants to be commissioned to do, Jess. It's bittersweet, right? We don't want to forget Nyiah and the other children, but we shouldn't have to do this in the first place. Thanks for your reporting.
Police said that the officers found the four-door silver sedan caught on surveillance video late Friday night racing away from the shooting on MLK Jr. Avenue in Southeast that killed Nyiah Courtney as she waited for a bus with her mom. The vehicle was found burned, sources told them, and investigators are scouring it to find any evidence that'll lead them to her killers. The 6-year-old's mother was also shot, and their community is rallying in support of her family, angered at the violence that claimed the girl's life, 3 years to the day that Micaiah Wilson, 10, was shot and killed while walking to an ice cream truck. The school where Nyiah was going to attend first grade with her older sister Nikiah, a rising 4th grader, released a statement saying in part, quote, "Nyiah will be remembered by those close to her as being so full of energy, loving to dance and sing, and so helpful to her teachers and peers." The school is planning to honor Nyiah's memory and is offering grief counseling to students and families associated with the school via Zoom. There is also still a $60,000 reward for any tip that leads to an arrest in this case. I had no choice but to do this story. Yes, it does touch me because it is a subscriber of mine's relative. But this story is terrible. The police chief said it right. These are cowards. You can tell when they were shooting from the vehicle, they didn't give a damn who they were hitting. It's a terrible, terrible tragedy. I pray for Michelle's family. I pray for Nikiah. I pray for Nana. I pray for her mother. And I pray that no other child is injured like this. This has got to stop. Let's put the guns down, people. I hate even bringing these stories to the channel, but they touch me in a way that you wouldn't even believe. And I'm going to end the story on that note. Thanks for watching, guys.